Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. Over the past 7 years, we've understood what matters most to you, the entrepreneur. And in year 8, we're taking head on two of your most pressing concerns, that of funding and mentoring. I'm Sunanda Jayasheelan. Tonight on the show, two small giants. First up is Toppr. On the other side of a break, Classplus in focus. According to KPMG report, when you're talking about the EdTech market or the intersection really between education and the technology space, the size of that market is about $1.96 billion. That's by 2021. The first company that we're focusing on tonight as part of our Small Giants series is Toppr. Shreya Sarvidikari caught up with this company to understand how they're helping students on a real-time basis and also what they're doing when it comes to standing out in a market that's traditionally been dominated by offline players. Take a listen.
For generations, education in India was all about textbooks. But with the advent of technology, the scenario has changed severely. One such company helping students receive personalised education is Toppr. The company provides students access to 24/7 e-learning, quick doubt solving and online tutoring. This startup, with its growing success, is expanding its geographical footprint and making learning more accessible to students.
Zishan, thank you so much for taking the time out for us today. Zishan, while the classroom program in India is fairly structured, but there is scope for improvement when it comes to self-study combined with technology. So talk to us about how are you bridging that gap?
Sure. So if you think about classroom study, classroom study and the structure of a classroom study came from a limitation. The limitation was, there is one teacher and there are many students, and the teacher is located at a certain space.
Sure.
So if you think about studies 5,000 years ago, there is a Gurukul and a teacher. If you think about Oxford University or Cambridge that got set up 1,000 years ago, it's still like a town and a campus. If you think about IITs that got set up 60, 70 years ago, again like a campus and a university teacher. So I think for the first time in humanity, we are moving away from this teacher plus campus model to a I will learn in my own space.
Right.
And that's only possible when you have a device that can teach you in your own space, connected, all that, right? So I think humanity had to wait for this progression for many thousands of years where you can move away from batch learning to a individual learning. And with that getting unlocked, I think there are like thousands of options and new opportunities that will come up. And we are very, very early in the game where we are figuring out what can happen on technology, using an app. And so I would say still very early game for everyone.
Well, I want to touch base on 2016. It wasn't a great year for you in terms of your revenue, I believe, because 3.07 was your gross revenue and you had a loss of 26.
Sure.
So what went wrong? What happened?
I mean, like any other typical internet company, right? So all internet companies have to build first and then monetize later, and Toppr is no different. So we have to, like a minimum viable product won't work in our case, because for students to rely on us completely, we have to build the full system, and building is front loaded, right? So you have to build the content, you have to build 1 million learning pieces, you have to have all the software engineers to build the full suite.
Sure.
So that students can shift away from whatever they're doing in their offline world, coaching, tuition, to the app. So your costs are front loaded and your revenues are in the future. So of course, if you look at 16, we paid all the cost, but we didn't monetize that much, and like 17, 18, 19 onwards, we have been monetizing. So our costs are now similar to our revenues.
Great. Talking about revenues, I want to come to the point of funding. So 22 million was your gross funding for Series A and B, and 35 was for your Series C funding, which you've raised recently.
Yes.
So how have you utilized the funds in your business?
So I would say Series A and B funding primarily went into product development and building the platform and the content, our entire engineering force, product managers, designers, who built the product, our content team, our pedagogy team, who laid out all the content, created pedagogy structures, short videos. So most of it was there, and of course we started experimenting with user acquisition stuff. The 35 million that we raised in our Series C, this we want to use for more user acquisition, branding, distribution. Of course, we will continue to invest on the product front. Like at the end of the day, we are a product company, and we will continue to innovate and invest in product. But I think a good chunk of this money will also be used for distribution and marketing.
Well, in the year 2016, of course, you also partnered with counselors, educational counselors, I believe. So tell us, how does that work? Are they educating the students who are coming on your platform? Is it offline? Is it online? What's the procedure?
So, users download the app and they get a 5-day or a 7-day free trial where they can experience the full app completely, after which they move to a free version of the app. After your 7-day trial expires, you move to a free version which is about 50% open, and the remaining is locked for the premium access. Our education counselors, based on your activity and your usage and your course that you created on the app, help you find the right product or the package for you, right? So they are either guiding you towards what you should select as an exam, or how do you configure your course, or if some of your pending steps are there, or just like guide you towards the right package, and they help you figure out what course you should pick and like upgrade to that course. So we have about 500 counselors across India, across 25 cities, and these guys are helping out our registered users.
Well, apart from the metropolitans, of course, there is a huge number of students who appear for competitive exams in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So what is the traction that you're getting from there?
Sure. So, Bombay is our biggest city. That's primarily also because we are based in Bombay. But if we exclude Bombay as a big city, I would say most tier 2 cities beat our tier 1 cities.
Okay.
For example, Nagpur is larger than Pune. Surat is larger than Ahmedabad for us. Cochin is way larger than Bangalore. So like a lot of tier 2 cities are larger than the metros. So we are still trailing in Chennai and Hyderabad compared to how we are doing in Nagpur and Surat and Cochin. So yes, I think the market is equally distributed. I would say the number of students in large cities and small cities are equally dense, because it's just like population distribution. Families are equal, child ratios are equal, but your options in tier 2 cities are limited. So the coaching classes in tier 1 cities are way better than the coaching classes in tier 2 cities.
Correct.
Or your tuition options are way better in tier 1 than tier 2. But aspiration wise, the tier 1 and tier 2 aspirations are the same. So when they are able to leapfrog this gap between what is available in supplemental learning, they quickly switch to apps. So, and therefore the apps are finding strong traction in tier 2, tier 3 cities.
How much of revenue is coming from these tier 2 and tier 3 cities?
So right now about
for you?
55-60% of our revenue is in non-metros.
You are aiming to reach 100 million by 2021.
Yes.
How do you aim to do that?
So we have to grow about 5x from where we are, and we have almost 2.5 years to get there. So I think it's a fairly achievable target, growing 5x in the next 2.5 years.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, we've been growing very fast. So we've grown almost 3x each year for the last 3 years. And I think we'll get there.
Well, talking about the supplemental education market, reports are suggesting that the size of the primary and secondary online supplemental education market is projected to touch 773 million by 2021. So how are you planning to maintain foothold? It's a big market.
Learning is a very, very big market, right? And it's going to be an expanding market in India. And in terms of household spends, learning spends come way above any other spend, right? So they come right along with your grocery and rent spends. So it comes before entertainment spend or consumption spend. And as India moves up the ladder in per capita GDP, more Indian families are going to spend on education. So it's going to be a massive expanding market. On the flip side, our education infrastructure is, I would say, suboptimal. It's not that great. Our schools, some of our schools are good, but most of our schools are not in a great shape. Even supplemental learning is sort of like a solution to a broken problem, but the solution itself is broken. So I feel that all these gaps in physical learning infrastructure will be supplemented by digital learning, and we will see a very large market developing.
Zishan, there is huge competition around you, and there are big players in this market. So do you think that there is a competition? And it's a two-part question. If there is, how are you doing things differently?
Yeah, so like Toppr is obsessed with making the platform holistic, right? So if you sign up, you will see that videos is just one part of Toppr, right? So it's about 20% of what Toppr does. Majority of our part comes in adaptive practice, where students actually learn by doing and not by like passively seeing something, and doubts, which is where they are stuck, there is intervention required, and somebody is helping them real time.
Sure.
So these two modules are actually the core of Toppr. The 70% of Toppr resides in these two modules, which is adaptive practice and doubts. And I can say with fair amount of confidence that there is no other platform in India that offers adaptive practice or doubts the way we do. The engagement levels that we have, the retention rates that we have are, I would say, unparalleled, all platforms included.
Talk to us about some of the challenges that you have faced in the EdTech market.
So sure, like when we started 6 years ago, EdTech was not really a hot market. Education was very lukewarm. Most internet investors would not look at education companies as internet companies. Our real challenge has been to build engagement, because this is a voluntary time spent by users on the app. It's not a forced time, right? So it's not like you're sitting in the classroom and therefore you have to spend the time. This is time that they're spending on the app out of free will. Now, if you think about learning or education is not the first thing that kids want to do. They want to go out and play. If they're at home, they want to watch TV. If TV is switched off, they want to WhatsApp or Snapchat or whatnot, right? But learning is probably the fourth or fifth thing that they want to do. And in such a scenario, building daily engagement and building repeat engagement every few days is a tough problem. So you have to be really obsessed with your user, really obsessed with high quality product, and keep shipping that. So that's been a challenge. I think we've done a decent job there. We've overcome that, and we want to continue investing in that.
Great. Thank you so much, Zishan, for your time.
Yeah, pleasure.
It was great talking to you.
Time for a quick break. On the other side, Classplus in focus, also from the education space. Do stay tuned. Back in just a bit. Welcome back. With us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight on the show, Classplus is our second small giant. Our second small giant tonight is Classplus, a company that is helping tutors eliminate time-consuming secondary activities like keeping a track of attendance, like creating quizzes, etc., and therefore making the effectiveness of tutors that much more. Take a listen to the story of this unique company.
Lovely to have you on the show, Mukul.
Thank you.
Classplus is a very unique platform because it caters to the needs of not just tutors, but also students and their parents. I'd love to understand, how did you come up with the concept of Classplus?
Classrooms have essentially not changed in the past couple of decades, or however long you can pan it out to be. But we also saw that the stature of private tutoring as an industry, as a need, or as a dependency has increased many folds. So we saw that right from students who are preparing for their JEE exams, like 14-15-year-old children, to somebody who's preparing for their government job related exams, probably age 27, doing a job somewhere else. Everybody is relying on private tutors or coaching institutes in some manner or the other. A primary reason might be that the cutthroat competition is so high that the odds are literally 1 in 100. But we saw that the demand for these coaching institutes has grown many folds. Over 70 million students in the country right now take private tutoring. There are over 7 to 8 lakh SMEs functioning as coaching institutes. And right now we are a platform which helps private coaching institutes develop their own learning apps via which they can conduct all their content related activities, whether it be sharing study material, whether it be conducting online assessments, tracking their children's performance, keeping their parents updated, probably managing their payment records, conducting admin activities of their institute, and ensuring all the communication that happens within students, parents, and other stakeholders of a coaching institute. So essentially we brought their entire ecosystem onto one single platform, and which is a mobile platform. Our pricing starts from something like 10,000 rupees per annum and goes up to 50,000 rupees an annum for a coaching institute.
So tell me more about this industry and how technology has affected it. Automation is affecting every industry as we know it. Do you think the education industry, and especially the tutors and coaching industry, has been heavily affected by it?
Absolutely. So when we talk of automation, so when we talk of this entire supplementary education market, there's a portion where a very critical human interaction is involved, which is when a teacher teaches and a student learns. I think per se what we have realized so far and what we believe in, I think you cannot ever try to replace the tutors in the Indian classrooms. It just does not happen. There are several of players who have tried this, and ultimately everyone receives a pushback because of it, because the end consumer is the student, and when we talk to a student, if we ask them who does he trust the most, the unanimous answer comes out to be the tutor. So I don't see any kind of automation in eradicating the tutors out there. The only place where I see is that their technology can involve so much more efficiency in the entire process of how tutors directly and indirectly engage with every of their 100 students, whether it be identifying their weaknesses, whether it be touching base with them regularly, whether it be sharing content, whether it be seeing how what are their performance and engagement trends. Now these are spaces and places which require a lot of technology intervention, because these cannot be done manually by a teacher. So our point of developing the entire platform is that we automate every single activity that a teacher does apart from teaching on the whiteboard. And now when all those activities can be automated into a mobile platform which is accessible by his students, his parents, his faculties, he himself, then you actually get the entire ecosystem on one single platform. And that is where we are moving towards.
As far as I understand, you have a very interesting customer demographic. So why don't you tell me more about that, and how are you catering to their needs?
Absolutely. So our demography is an extremely interesting set of the country, which also constitutes the major portion in this entire education system. So our typical customer is a middle-aged tutor who runs a coaching institute as his profession, and they are micro entrepreneurs in their own rights. They're teachers, they're educators, they're marketing guys, they probably maintain their entire relationship with all their parents. They don multiple hats. At the end of the day, they run a small medium business profitably, and they're micro entrepreneurs, and we've catered the needs of theirs mostly. One very interesting aspect that we realized during our journey was that this is not a problem that is faced only by metropolis people. Right now, if I look at it, almost 70% of our customer base lies in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities of the country, which tells us that it's a much larger problem, or let's say it's a much larger opportunity that one can really figure it out at the top of it.
Because you cater to 3 different parties, that is students, tutors and parents, how are you making sure that you meet all their needs on one single app?
When we design our platform, we look very closely at the use cases that come on ground. So we as a company don't believe in product being top down. We think that our customers are our true product consultants. They are the ones who know what they want to use, and they tell us what to build. And when we do that in the process, we get an advantage that a lot of our functionalities on the platform mimic the real ground behavior that happens in the ecosystem. So like now, for example, a teacher might want to convey something to his students and be assured that the parents also know that. So now this is a triangulation problem which is facilitated on the platform. Similarly, a tutor might also want to disseminate content, but to different students who he thinks are different in, let's say, their performance or their growth right now. So we've inculcated all these behaviors, modeled them on the unique way in which Indian coaching institutes run, vetted them through thousands of tutors, and brought the parents, students and tutors and their faculties all on a single platform.
So which is your priority? Is it the tutors? Is it the parents? Is it your students? Who do you think Classplus is made for?
Right now on our platform, we have people who have been IAS officers in their jobs, who have been IIT grads, who have been software engineers, and they're taking up their coaching institutes and running it in such a polished way that they're growing at such a fast rate that what their peers used to do or reach the numbers in 10 years, they're doing it in a couple of years. And that is where I've realized that people are looking at it as a very conscious career choice. So, and when I speak to people on why do they do it, so both from the monetary aspect as also from the fulfillment aspect, they tell me that this is a profession that they feel really happy in, because it's rewarding in both satisfactory and monetarily.
So what do you think is the future of coaching centers and the coaching industry in itself, and where do you see yourself as a part of it?
In terms of private coaching institutes, they will always keep fledging, they'll always keep growing, but there is more personalization in terms of every teacher being able to reach out to every of his students' strengths and weaknesses in a very clean manner. Also suggest them remediation needs. There are a lot of changes that are going in the entire education system. For example, all the exams have suddenly gone online. So there's this huge need for technical infrastructure that people need to cope up with all the policies and the new let's say paradigm shifts that are coming there. So we think that Classplus is a very important part to play in this. We believe that as we go forward, teachers will be, we want to become the de facto platform across every coaching institute in the country, and bring all teachers and students onto a common platform and make the platform so powerful that a teacher can essentially look at his mobile app and identify what kind of understanding, acceptance or performance path his students are on, and if they are, let's say, not doing well, what kind of remediation needs that they need to, and within a couple of clicks they can send those remediation needs to their students via their mobile platforms itself. So we believe that everything apart from teaching on the blackboard, especially on the pedagogy and understanding of the students' performance, that should come via the mobile platform, and that is where we would like to become every tutor's personal assistant.
Thank you, Mukul. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Completely out of time on the show tonight. If you have any feedback, our contact details is up on your screens in just a moment. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.